Name is Harshit Gajjar, and today I'll be presenting you my notebook on suicides in the United States from the year 2016 to 2020. So, as we know that suicide is an act of intentionally taking one's own life, and it is a very complex and a serious issue that affects individual families and communities worldwide. The causes of suicide are often complex and multifaceted and involving a range of individual, societal, and environmental factors. So, in this notebook, we'll be discussing the trends and the patterns in the suicides in the United States from the year 2016 to 2020. So, in order to test this, I had used this data set here from the CDC website, wherein we specify the columns which we want in our data set. That is like race, then this is like the age groups, then the mechanisms, and we can also specify something called as the state here. So this way we can generate the data, and we have other filters here as well, and once we select those filters we can click on send, and this will generate the data for us. And this is how I have used the data for this one. So if we can see the raw data here, the raw data looks something like this. As we can see, we have the method here, we have the year, we have the state, we have the age groups, the race, and so on. So I have like taken all these columns here. So as we can see, for my analysis purposes, I have only considered the year column, the state column, the race column, and the count column. That these are the only columns which I have used for my data analysis. So initially I came up with some of my made up insights, that is the hypothesis. So my first insight was that since the what the democratic states, that is the red states in the US, have weaker gun laws, so they would have a higher chance of suicide by firearms. And if we see, Texas is one of the democratic state which is a red state, and they also having high poverty rate, they have high suicide rate because of firearms, and also they have the second largest population in the United States. So my assumption would be Texas would have the highest suicide rate in the United States. And this is the made up insight which I selected, and I started um, I got started with it. So as we can see, then I perform the data abstraction on this, and then the data abstraction I wrote a table which I eventually converted into a network, that is the combination of nodes and the links. And the attributes which I used are race, state, and the deaths here. And I also had a derived attribute, that is the value. And the time frame of the data set is 2016 to 2020, and the suicide data set is generated from the CDC website. So then I came up with the task abstraction for the selected insight. So first my task was to summarize the states as blue or red, that is the states were democratic or republic. Then my second was to summarize the trends in the red and the blue states again. And the third was to identify the race or ethnicity with the highest number of suicide cases. And then I even performed the how abstraction, that is the marks and the channels. So my marks here are the points and the line. The points are because I have used circles in the case of nodes, and line because I have used links in order to join those nodes. And the channels we have is color hue to determine the states as democratic, republic, and to determine race and ethnicity. And then we have color saturation, that is to determine that is used in the link. So like darker the opacity, the darker the saturation, more the number of suicide cases of that race or ethnicity in that given state. And then I have used area, which is again used in nodes and links. So bigger the line or bigger the node, so more the number of suicide cases. So my target audience for this notebook would be all the mental health professionals and researchers who wants to study suicides, and some of the policymakers who can um, uh, have a look and identify the potential areas where they can improve the policies in order to reduce the suicide cases, and also some journalists and media professionals who report on public health issues. So now if we come to the actual visualization, this is the actual visualization. It is a force simulation. So as we can see, here we have all the democratic states, and here we have all the republics, and in middle we have all the races or the ethnicity. So as we can see that in the case of white race, they have maximum suicide cases in the states of Texas, California, and Florida. And we can see that, like, California, Florida, and Texas are the states which have higher suicide rates in as compared to all the other states in the US. Then also we can see that, and another interesting insight which I saw is that whites was the only race which had suicide in all the 50 states of the US, and no other race or ethnicity had suicides in all the cases from 2016 to 2020. So as we can see, if I go to American Indian or Alaskan Native here, so we can see that they have mostly suicide cases only all the Democratic states and only one Republic state, that is New Mexico. And another insight would be that if you see Asians or Pacific Islanders, they have suicide cases only in the Republic states, that is, and only one red state, that is Texas. And if you see Black or African American, they have a balanced number of suicide cases in the Republic and Democratic as well. So I would also, these are my insights on all the suicides from 2016 to 2020. I would just appeal to all those people out there, like, suicide is a very extreme step. If there is anything, please seek help before taking such an extreme step. Thank you.